Hello! In this video, we'll discover more about color contrast calculation and color blindness simulation in Colors Tester. Right now. Let's have an overview about color blindness. For you, that palette may look quite different on each color. You have a dark gray, you have a green, a red, a purple and a gray, light gray. So, what we will try to do here is try to understand why checking for color blindness is that important. We have here a button that helps you to simulate color blindness for you. You probably see, like this one, the none, which is, hopefully for you, your case, you can see those colors quite different, which is quite cool. Those colors are really different from each other. But it's not the case for everybody. For some people that will suffer of these disabilities, some people will see those lines exactly like the none one, the one you are seeing. They won't see any difference between this line and the none. So for somebody, if you want to communicate here on the difference between green and red, you won't be able to do it because those two colors look exactly the same. The purple looks blue for you, something like that. For somebody who suffers of that kind of disability, it's impossible to identify this color, even though for you it's easy. It's even worse when you go in other disabilities here. Here you can still see the difference between the purple and the gray, but for these ones you see already two colors that looks just a bit different thanks to the contrast, but those two ones looks exactly the same. If you want to communicate writing with purple on the gray one, it's just impossible for that person to read what you wrote. Let's check it here. So here, you see it's quite obvious to read for you, probably. The contrast is quite low, but it's still feasible. Now let's check. For somebody suffering of tritanopia, it's completely invisible. The text completely disappeared. It's impossible to read at all. Also, this is why it's so important to try those different combinations of colors and never communicate, of course, on a single color, but also on shapes, and ensure that they are accessible also for colorblind people. On the other hand, we also have the WCAG. WCAG developed standard that simplify the understanding of color contrast. Color contrast is the amount of contrast between two colors, simplified by 1A, AA or AAA. If you turn it here to values, you will see those values calculated. Colors Tester is based on this contrast calculation to check whether it fits or not with the WCAG recommendations. You can read those values here, but it's quite inconvenient to validate this way. Of course, the higher the number is, the best the contrast is. Let's turn it back now to the WCAG approach. That WCAG approach that lets you check the contrast between the background and the foreground and see whether it validates with 3 A's, 2 A's or simple A or not at all. You also have them here in the list, where you can basically find back the same information presented another way. You will see here also the validation for AA, AAA, but in front of large font and small fonts that will just validate the contrast between the foreground and the background color. The contrast, which is still mentioned here as a value and translated in WCAG recommendations. That's it for this video. You can access all these functionalities by buying a subscription of 3 or 6 months to the full version of Colors Tester. Thank you for watching and have a colorful day.